learners, welcome to the 13th lesson of my course Ecology from Cells to Gaia. Today we will talk about biodiversity, hypercycles and Gaia. The diversity of nature is exemplified by what Darwin called the entangled bank. Darwin said that an entangled bank is clothed with many plants of many kinds, with birds singing on the bushes, with the various insects flying about, and with worms crawling through the damp earth, and to reflect that these elaborately constructed forms, so different from each other and dependent on each other in so complex manner, have been produced by laws acting around us. So I have two main questions for you. What do all the species do, and why there are so many? These have implications for conservation biology. If some species have limited ranges, then our action could cause their extinction much more easily than if their ranges are global. Without trade-offs, the rule of species-rich guilds could be filled by single taxa such as a perfected photosynthetic plant. These species are so-called Darwinian demons. A good definition of trade-off by David Wilkinson is an evolutionary dilemma whereby genetic change conferring increased fitness in one circumstance inescapably involves sacrifice of fitness in another. What processes lead to specialization by organisms enhance biodiversity and would be expected to operate in all conceivable ecologies? Trade-offs prevent an organism from being good at everything and so help rule out persistent planetary ecologies based on a single species. Trade-offs also preventing one species outcompeting all others are therefore a good candidate for the most fundamental reason for the development of biodiversity. However, they clearly do not explain all the diversity of life on Earth. Rare organisms could be crucial in allowing communities to cope with climate and other changes. A species-rich community with more rare ones is more likely to contain species with the correct attributes to suit new conditions. James Lovelock, in discussing the rule of biodiversity in daisy world models developed to confute criticism against the Gaia theory, wrote, "Destroying biodiversity will reduce the reservoir of apparently redundant or rare species. Amongst these may be those able to flourish and sustain the ecosystem when the next perturbation occurs." Trade-offs are a fundamental aspect of biodiversity as they prevent one or two species from monopolizing the planet. Because they allow speciation, on any hypothetical planet with life we would expect to see a range of taxa. The resulting biodiversity will have a positive Gaian effect, that is, it will tend to make an ecological community or a planetary ecosystem more stable than if it was composed of a smaller number of species. Hypercycles as trade-off are fundamental for biodiversity. An example of ecological hypercycle comes from Darwin's worm book. The worms modify their environment in a way that is beneficial to future generations of worms, and an implicit description of the positive and negative feedback loops between the worms and their biotic and abiotic environments is provided in this book. One of the main applications of hypercycles in biology has been in considering the autocatalytic effects in cycles of self-replicating molecules during the origin of life. However, they are clearly also relevant to ecosystems. In a paper published in Ecological Modeling, I and my colleague Wim Horjik and Stuart Kaufman proposed that indeed biodiversity is autocatalytic. We suggested that biodiversity can be considered a system of autocatalytic sets, and that this view offers a possible answer to the fundamental question of why so many species can coexist in the same ecosystem. The concept of hypercycle is still a useful aid to ecological thought, even if difficult to describe in a quantitative manner. The idea that life can have an autocatalytic quality is of great importance in understanding the ecological history of hypothetical planets, or real planets such as the Earth. Once autotrophs and decomposers have evolved, then the simple hypercycle autotroph decomposer will exist. These autocatalytic hypercycles could quickly lead to life covering much of the planet, as the presence of life catalyzes the production of more life, as I explained with the biodiversity-related niches differentiation theory. Lovelock argued that planets will tend to have either lots of life or no life at all. One of the reasons why conservationists worry about small populations is that they are prone to extinction brought about by demographic and environmental stochasticity. Demographic stochasticity is when chance fluctuation in demographic parameters such as birth and death rate, sex ratio, population growth rate in a small population can lead to extinction. Ideas of environmental stochasticity and catastrophes are very different, being potentially much more relevant to arguments that persistent restricted ecologies do not survive for geological periods of time. The idea that specially restricted ecologies are unlikely to survive is true. Then it raises interesting questions about the end of life on a planet. The potential long tail to microbial life on a planet will make the moment of death of all life on a planet impossible to identify. The exceptions to a long time span for the extinction of life on a planet will be catastrophic events, such as the massive asteroid or comet impacts suffered by the Earth in its early history, or a potential lethal flux of cosmic rays from a nearby supernova. Even in these cases, it may be very difficult to kill every last microbe living deep within a planet rock. At the end of this lesson, I have two questions for you. First, what are the most heavy human impacts on ecosystem? And second, will our species destroy all life on Earth? Thank you for your attention and see you next time.